Hello everyone, I wrote a book on the important concepts you need to understand when learning React.js. I highly recommend it if you want to get a deep understanding of the JavaScript framework, and it is only $20. You can grab yourself a copy today on Gumroad, and the link is in the description below. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. And today we're going to be doing the results summary component challenge, which is currently the latest challenge from Frontend Mentor. So you can head over into frontendmentor.io/challenges. It is currently the first challenge. You can click on this card and then we can begin. As you can see, I've already downloaded the starter files, and that is all I have done. I wanted to build it out before I recorded the video, but then I decided that let me do it without doing some kind of prep first, because I realized that sometimes I do omit some of the challenges that I encounter when building it beforehand, before recording the video. So I wanted that in case I encountered any challenge, then you're going to see it firsthand, how I encounter it and then how I also solve it. So once you download the starter files, then you're going to have a zip file here, which is called results summary component main. And so I'm going to right click on this, and then I'm going to say extract here, which is going to extract into a folder that is called results summary component main. And then I'm just going to right click on this and say open with code. And as you can see, this opens up an instance of Visual Studio Code. And so what I did do beforehand, just to save a bit of time, is that I created a new React application and I called it summary component, which I have opened in this instance of Visual Studio Code. So currently I have two instances of Visual Studio Code. The one on the left here is my React application, and then the one on the right is the downloaded files, the one that you've just downloaded from Frontend Mentor. Now, if you want to create your React application, all you need to do is open up your terminal using command prompt, or whichever terminal. You can use the integrated terminal in VS Code by saying Control and J. And once you have your terminal open, then you can cd into whatever folder that you want. Currently, all my folders and files are on my desktop. So for example, my Frontend Mentor challenges are inside a folder called FM challenges. You can create your own, you can create whatever folder that you want. It all depends on your preference. And then once you've navigated into the correct folder, then you can say npx create react app, and then you can call your application whatever name that you want. So in this case, I've called mine summary component. You can call it results summary component. And then when you run this command, it's going to create a React application for you, and it's going to have the structure. As you can see here, these are the default files, but I'm not going to run this command, as you can see, because I already have my React application running. If you don't, which obviously you don't, then go ahead and run this application, call your application whatever name that you want, and then you can pause the video right here, and then once your application finishes running, then you can continue. And so once we have this open on the left, our React application, and our download files on the right, I want to do a bit of copy pasting, because as you can see, we don't have these files right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say select the style guide, the readme template, the index.html, the data JSON, the design and assets. I'm going to right click and say copy, and then inside here I'm just going to right click and say paste. Did it paste correctly? Come on. See, something that I've been encountering over the past week is that my mouse is double clicking when I click once. I think it's just because like it's losing its integrity or something. And you can see that now VS Code is now hanging. So let me reopen it. Okay, there we go. So we have the assets, the design, we have the data JSON, index.html, and then we have the readme template, the readme. This one should be readme copy. Let me see what is inside. Yeah, so this readme didn't copy. So let me click on this readme, let me copy it and then paste it inside here. Oh wait, it's right here. Oh, I didn't see it. Okay. So let's just delete the second copy and then delete this file. And then we're going to rename this into readme.md. And then I'm going to go inside this git ignore. I'm going to select everything inside and copy it. And then inside our React application git ignore, I'm going to go to the bottom and then paste it inside here. And then now we can close this. And then let's place this to be full screen. And then let's change this to line 36. And then let's change this to line 29 and 30. And there we go. So that is our default application that we have. But before we begin typing away, I want to install Tailwind CSS just because it's going to be faster, I think. And so we're going to go into the Tailwind CSS website, and it is right here. So tailwindcss.com/docs/installation. And then we're going to go into the framework guides because we are working with React. So create React app right here. And then we're just going to run these commands. So copy and then paste them here, and then copy this one. And then we're going to let this run, and then we can paste it in. For some reason, my computer is overheating and therefore it is slow. There we go. So paste the second command in, and then we can copy this line, copy. And then once this creates our Tailwind config file here, we're just going to paste in that line inside here, and then save this file and then close it. And then we're going to import these 3 lines into our index.css. So inside our source folder, we have an index.css file. So just import this on top. Probably close my terminal because it is taking a lot of space. There we go. And then now we can run our dev server by saying npm run start. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say npm run start. And then as our server opens up, then let me go ahead and open our design file, because we're going to need to take a look at the design so that we see what we're going to be building. So right here we have, this is all centered. So it is a container right in the middle of the entire web page. And then let's see the mobile design. Where are you? So this is the mobile design right here. So it is just this on top and then the white part on the bottom. Okay, and then it also has a slight box shadow. That's why it is accentuated just a bit. So let's go ahead and begin building that. Therefore, the first thing that I want to do is I want to close this untitled file, and then I want to delete the app CSS, the app test.js, the logo, report web vitals, and the setup tests. Delete them. And then inside my app.js, I'm going to just remove everything inside here, and then I'm going to say export default function app, and then we're going to return nothing. Or that, let me just return a div that says hello world. There we go. And then inside my index.js, I didn't save this file. Sorry about that. We need to save the index.css file. So inside the index.js, we're going to delete this part right here because we have deleted that file as well as this one. Remove the import and then save it. And then let me see, inside our CSS, we can remove everything inside the body as it stands, because we need to import the correct font that we're going to be using here. Let me see which one it is. Let's see, it's called Hanken Grotesque. We need the 500, 700, and 800. So just control click to open this link. And we need the 500, 700, and 800 font weights. So let's go ahead and get the 500, the medium 500, the bold 700, and the extra bold 800. And then let's use the import tab here. Just copy this part. And then at the top of our CSS file, we are going to save this. I mean, paste it in, not save it. And then inside everything, let me just say, specify that for everything to have a font family of, what's it called? Hanken Grotesque, with a fallback of sans serif in case this fails to load in. And then save it. And that should be all we need to do. Let me check. Yeah, that's the correct way to import it. And then now what we need to do is, as you can see, we now have hello world on the screen because inside our app.js, we have this part. Okay. So therefore, what I'm going to do now is, because everything is going to live inside our app.js, then I'm going to place this to the left, and then this can remain to be full screen. And then I'm going to place our React application to the right, and then just squeeze this a bit. There we go. And then let's begin our development process. So the first thing that we need to do is, because I want to build this mobile first, right? So we're going to take a look at the mobile design, and you can see that we need to have this part on top and then this part on the bottom. Now, the way I'm going to do it is, this bluish purple part is going to be one div, and then this part, the white part here, is going to be another div. So therefore what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and create a section. Now this section is going to be the parent for everything. So this entire thing is going to be the section. And then once we have the section here, then I'm going to go ahead and create the first div. And then I'm going to go ahead and create another div here. So just so that doesn't confuse me, I'm going to call this one second div. And then we can begin building our first div. And our first div says your result, and then this part, and then grade, and then da da da. So on top of this, let me call this an h2 that says your result. And then below this, let's go ahead and create this part. And the way we're going to do it is, let me see, we have this can be one element, by the way. We can have this to be a paragraph, and then we can place this one to be inside a span, and then we place the paragraph to have a bit of padding or a fixed width, and then we make it rounded. So we can have a paragraph here, a paragraph that has a span that says 76. Is it 76%? Okay, 76. And then outside of the span, we say of 100. So the way we're going to style it is the span is going to be bigger and bolder, and then the rest of the paragraph is going to say this. Okay. And then once we have that as the paragraph, below this, we're going to have what? Let me call this an h3. You know what? Let me call this an h2 and then call this top one an h3. And then this h2 is going to say rate. And then below this h2, we're going to have a paragraph that says use code higher than, can type 65% of what? Of the people who have taken these tests. The people who have taken these tests. Okay. And then add a full stop. So this is our first div, as you can see, and it ends right there. And then our second div is going to be this one. So for the second div, I saw a data.json file. I have not taken a look at this file. And we have this right here. So they've provided us with some kind of state so that we can add in this dynamically. And that is really nice. Now, the first thing that we need to do is we need to get this data.json file to be inside the source folder so that we can access it correctly. Otherwise, because it is outside of the source folder, you're not going to be able to access it because it is outside of the scope of your application. That is the reason that React gives. So what we're going to do therefore is we need to import this data from the data.json file. And let me remember how to work with JSON files because I've forgotten. So the first thing that we need to do obviously is we need to have some kind of state. So we're going to import the useState hook. So import useState from React. And then we're also going to import the data. So let me just say import data from ./data.json. And then let's create our state, and we're going to say const, let me call this, let me just call them items. And because we are not going to use this function anywhere, or I don't think so, then we're just going to remove it so that I don't have any warnings. And we're going to initialize this to useState data. So initializing it to our data.json file. Now, once we have that, let me just test things out. And I'm going to say items.length items so that we can see whether we are getting all the data correctly. Now, what this should print on the screen is 1, 2, 3, 4 items. We should see 4 items on the screen. Let's see. Save it. And there we go. So you can see we have 4 items. That means we're getting it correctly. Now, once we have that, therefore, then what we need to do is not this, but we need to style it out to look like so. So we have a heading here that says summary. So the top heading here, let me call this an h2 that says summary. And then below this, we have the data. So we are looping over the data. And then on the bottom, we have the continue button. So I'm going to create a button here that says continue. So continue. And then above this, we're going to create a div because you guys always have an issue with me when I use articles. So inside the div here, we're going to say items.map. And then when we map over an array of objects, what we get back is each of the objects, right? So each of the objects that we get back, I just want to call it item. and then also want to get the index of the item so that we can use the index as the unique key. And then this is going to say equals to, and then we're going to set our implicit return right here, and then we're going to say return a div with a key of item, sorry, let's say a key of index. And then inside this div, let's close it out. Inside this div, we want to structure it as follows. We have the icon here, and then we have the text. Wait, how's it structured? Category, reaction, the icon, and then the score. So we need the, let me see. I can set these two to be one item, and then these two to be another item. And what I can do therefore is this. I can set this to be an h3. Let's return an h3. And the h3 is going to have an image, and the source for this image is going to say item.icon. And item.icon, because you can see that the icon is right here, which we're getting from assets images. And then item.icon, the alt attribute, in case the image fails to load, I'm just going to say item.category, and then that is going to be our image. So our icon right here, and then the text is going to say icon.category. So the text for the h3 is going to say item dot, oops, curly brackets, item.category. Okay, now I'm going to save this, but you're going to notice that something is going to break. Just to show you, you can see that now our images are here, but they're not showing. And in our data JSON, they are referenced here, but still they're not showing. The reason why that happens is because currently the assets folder is outside of our React application. So what we need to do is just drag it and place it inside our public folder. Oops, no, not inside the node modules. So drag and drop it inside the public folder, and then just let it go. Okay, and then now when we reload this, of course, yeah, it should save automatically. And then when you reload this, then we should be able to see our icons right there. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead, and this is our h3. Now what I'm going to do is, for this part, I'm going to set this to be a paragraph. I'm going to set this to be a paragraph. So what we're going to do therefore is this. Let me see, this is a score of 80. Okay, so below this h3, we're going to do something similar with this paragraph. Actually, you know what, I can just copy it, by the way. So copy and then paste it here. And then now, instead of this saying 76, we're going to say item.score, and then this is going to say /. I think that's how it's structured. Yeah, / out of 100. Everything is out of 100. And let me see. And actually, that is it for our structure. Let's save it, and we should see. There we go. So 8 out of 100, and so on and so forth. And then we have our continue button right there. So now all that remains is just to style it out to look better. Now see how there are colors right here. See these colors? Let me show you a neat trick that you can do, and I hope it works, because every time that I say this, it doesn't work. So inside our style guide, we have our colors here, right? We have the gradients. Where is it? These ones. We have the colors that we need to use for this section. So what we can do is, inside our data JSON file, we can adjust this a bit and add a color property, and then set the color property to something like this. I don't know whether HSL is going to work. I only tried this out using what is it called, hexadecimal values, but it was in another project and I didn't use a JSON file. So I don't know whether this is going to work, but we're just going to test it out anyways. So we have the color here, and then I'm just going to copy this, and then remember to add this comma, and then paste it in, add a comma, paste it in, add a comma, and paste it in. And then let's go ahead and change these colors. So that is light red, this is orange yellow. Copy and then paste it here. Oops, what? Orange yellow, I copied the wrong part. So copy this and paste it here, and then add our, what's it called, what is happening? There we go. And then this next teal part, so copy this and paste it here, and then we can now copy this and paste it here. Now if the HSL values don't work, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hexadecimal values. And I just realized that I don't think I started my recording, so let me just check that in a moment. Okay, the recording is working. So now we have added a color property here. What we can do is I can save this, and then instead of app.js, I can go ahead and try out something, right? So let me see whether it's going to work. I'm going to go and add a style attribute here, and then I'm going to set the background color. So background color, and then I'm going to set it into, let me see whether it's going to work. So item.color. Does this work? Does it work? Okay, there we go. So would you look at that? So we can add dynamic values inside here. So item.color. Now what we want to do is not this. Instead, we want to add an opacity to the background color. Well, obviously, first of all, we need to add the text to have this same color. So let's go inside the h3, and then let's give this a style here. Style equals to double curly brackets, and then set the color to item.color. And then let's disable this for a moment, save it, and we should see, there we go. So you can see that now the text is showing correctly. Now obviously you can do this using CSS, but I've done it in other videos before, and I wanted to show you something new that you can do. And so now what I'm going to do is I need to find a way to add opacity to this, because if I save this, then we're not going to be able to see the text. You can see because the text is the same color as the background. So how do I add opacity to this? I know how to add it using what's it called, using hexadecimal values, but I've never tried it using HSL values. So first of all, let's convert this to a string, and then add curly brackets, our dollar sign, and then our curly brackets, so that it changes into a variable. And then I don't know whether adding an alpha value here, I don't know whether adding like let's say common 90%, or let me say 20%. I don't know if this is going to work anyways. Reload just to make sure. 90%. There we go. So it doesn't work with HSL values as it does with hexadecimal values. And so therefore, let's do this. I want to convert this into hexadecimal values so that they're easier to work with. So let me place this to be full screen. Let's say F12. And you know what? Let me not say F12 because I have an extension here. Let me just zoom in so that I get the correct color. This extension is called Color Picker Eyedropper, and it just gets the HSL values for stuff. So let me just copy this, and then let me paste it here. Oops, paste it in, and then add a hashtag, and then let's get the second one here. Come on, this one, copy, paste it here, and then add a hashtag, and then the third one, oops, closed it. So the third one, copy, and then here, paste it in, and then finally the fourth one here, copy and paste it in, hashtag, oops, didn't copy it, copy and then paste it in. There we go. Okay, so once we have that, then nothing should change on the screen because these colors are still the same, obviously. But then now what I can do is, instead of adding this like so, then I can remove this part, and then I can add in two values at the end of it, and the two values are going to be like the alpha values. So if I add an alpha value of 99 here, look at what is going to happen. Now the background color is no longer 100%, like we can now see the text kind of, right? Now if I remove this part, look, okay, now it is completely darkened. But if I add two values at the end of it, then it begins to add opacity. Now just to explain this better, if we have a background color here, so background, oh sorry, I need to access this section so that I can add properties. So background color, here, if I set it to, let me say hashtag FFF, which is very bright red, and actually you're not, wait, it is white. Oh my god, I am so out of it today. So FF0000. Okay, so that is bright red. If I save it, that's that it is going to be very bright red. But if I hover over this part in VS Code and then add an alpha value, watch what happens here. If I add an alpha value, look, it adds two values at the end of our original color. That is the alpha value being added. Now if I drag it through around here and then save it, you can see that now our background color here is now no longer completely bright red, but it has an opacity at the end of it. That is the same principle that we're using here. We take the original color and then we add two values at the end of it, and the two values act as an opacity. So let's remove this part and then let's go back into our app.js and then let's reduce this to about, let me see how it looks in the design. It is barely visible in the design. So let's say about 10. How does that look? And 10 is visible. Let's see how 15 looks. How does 25 look? No, let's just use 15. Okay, so we can use 15 and you can see that that is what we're going to have. Now let's begin styling all of this out. So inside this div, I'm going to give this div a class name of, remember we installed Tailwind CSS. So let me say bg indigo dash 500. How does that look? Okay. Let me say padding all around of 8, push everything inwards. Let me say text dash center, push everything to the center, and let's say text dash white. Now text white does work correctly here, but if you take a look at the design, these paragraphs are not completely white. So let's change that up. So inside our index to CSS, I want to add this globally so that I don't have to add it in manually for every paragraph that we have. Oh my God. So inside the paragraphs, we're going to set this to have a color of about, let me use Tailwind. I'm going to say at apply text slate 200. And that should be it. So now it is not completely white, but it has a text slate of 200. So I'm going to save this, and then inside our app.js, let's continue styling this out. So inside this h3, I'm going to give this a class name of margin bottom of 10 pushed away from this paragraph. Let me see, save it. Okay, let's see. Actually, no, this is a paragraph I've just realized, because it is styled the same way as this one on the bottom. So let me change this no longer to be an h3 but to be a paragraph. So paragraph. Okay, and then this should be camel case, not camel case but capitalized. Let me reduce this to margin of 6, and then let me go inside this h2, give this a class name of margin top of 6 as well, so that it is uniform. Yeah, that should be correct. It is uniform. And then this part can remain, but you know what, this should be margin wise so that it adds margin on the top and bottom of this. And then let's go inside this paragraph. Let me separate it out so that it looks better. Give this a class name of, let me say bg indigo dash, I have 500 here, it is darker, so let me say 600. And then let me say inline block. Does that work? Okay, yeah. And then let me give it a width of let me say 40. How is that? That's a bit too big. With 20. With 24, and then height dash 24 as well, so that now we have a square. And then let me say give this to be a flex box so that this text comes to the bottom. Wait, that won't work. That won't work because of inline block. Oh my God. Okay, let's remove that. Let me see, and then let me say, let's say flex and item center, and then justify center. Okay, and then now I want this to move in the middle. First of all, let me add a space here so that it spaces out this part, or it doesn't. So let me add a virtual space like so. It still doesn't work. So let me add a gap here. Oops. Let me add a gap here of about 2 to separate it out from this text just a bit. Let me say 1. And then how do we move this to the center? I'm going to grab this and place it inside the div. And then inside this div, I'm going to say give this a class name of, let me see if text center alone will work. I don't know whether it's going to work. It doesn't. So let me say flex, and then items dash center, and then justify dash center. Now move to the center. There we go. And then inside this paragraph, let's make it rounded dash full, so that it is completely rounded like so. And then this span needs to have a class name of blocks that it goes on top of this. Oops. Wait, what? Is that actually correct? So I messed up somewhere, and I think I messed up when I added flex box here. Is that so? Yeah, that is the reason why. but without flexbox, it's not going to be perfectly centered. So let me see what we can do therefore. That would mean that this we're going to have to restructure a bit. So instead of having this inside a span, this paragraph is going to say 76. And then below this, we're going to have another paragraph that says of 100. Okay, that is not what I want. Instead, what I want is this BG indigo and the width 24 should come out from here and be on top. But is that going to mess up everything? It does. Oh my god. So that is the reason why. Okay, let's undo. Let's have everything as it was. Let me see whether BG here is going to work. It's not going to work because it doesn't have a fixed width and height. Of course it doesn't. It doesn't. This is really annoying. I thought making that would be an easy part. I thought it would be one of the easiest parts, but it's not. Okay. So 76 over 100. Let's do this. Let me add another paragraph inside the paragraph, and then let's say of 100. And then let's go inside here, and then let's say flex column. So flex dash column. One top the other. Okay. And then inside this paragraph, we're going to say text white and text dash 2XL and font dash bold, which is going to mess up with this one as well. But we're going to reset them here. So inside the second paragraph, we're going to give this a class name of text slate 200 and text dash base, which is the normal font weight. And then we're going to say font dash, what was it? What is the class for this? Font normal. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So font 76 of 100. Let me make this 3XL. Okay, that's looking nice. And then what we need to do is we need this div to be rounded on the bottom. So inside this div, we're going to say, rounded dash bottom dash. Is that 3XL? 3XL does exist. Okay, so rounded bottom 3XL, and there we go. And then now we can do this. We can say margin bottom of about 10 to push away from this part. There we go. And that is our first div. Would you look at that? Now we can go ahead into our second div, which is our summary. And give this a class name of padding all round of 8 to push everything inwards and downwards. And you know what? Because I have padding of 8 here, you can see that it has increased the margin here. So I can remove this margin bottom of 10 from here just to keep everything uniform. You can see that. And then inside this h2, we're going to give this class a class name, the h2 class name of text slate dash 700 and margin bottom of 6, because we've been using margin bottom of 6. And then let's say text dash large and font dash bold. There we go. How does it look? Yeah, it does look like so. And then let's go ahead and begin to style this out. So we need the icon and the text to be in one line. So inside this h3, remember that the h3 is here and the image is here, which is the icon. So we're going to give this a class name of flex. What happens? There we go. And then item center, just so that it moves down just a bit. It is barely visible, but it does help, especially when the image is larger. And then let's add a gap of about 1 just to separate it out a bit. Or let me say gap 2. Yeah, let's use gap 2. And then we're going to do the same thing. So just copy this part. And we're going to do the same thing on this paragraph. So that now this paragraph text, which is barely visible, is now... wait, what happens when I save this first of all? Okay, that happens. The gap of 1 just increases a bit. And so now what we need to do is we need now this icon and the text and this one to go here. So inside this div, which is the parent, then we're going to give this a class name. And you know what? I can just paste this in actually and then remove the gap of 2. And then we add justify between. So justify between is going to bring it here. Would you look at that? And then now let's change the color for this text. Right? How does it look? It looks like so. So it is just a bit darker. So let me say text slate dash 600. Let me say 500. And then inside this span, I'm going to give this span a class name of text slate dash 700 dash 700 so that it is darker. Would you look at that? And then of course I'm going to say font bold for this one. So font bold. There we go. So 82 and so on and so forth. And then let's begin to style out this div. So this div needs to have a padding of 4 all round, and then add a rounded border, rounded large, so that it just looks a bit neater. And then what we can do is, because we have where is it actually? We have it here. So this div, I wanted to separate out the items here using flexbox. I mean, I can add a margin bottom here of 6, and it's going to like push everything away from one another, and that does work actually. It does have margin bottom of 4. Now if you didn't want to use a margin bottom of 4, you can go to this parent div and add a class name here of flex, but you can see that everything is going to be jumbled up, so add a flex column. And then now if I remove the margin bottom of 4, you can see that we go back to the original design, but you can add a gap of 4 here, and you can see that it's going to separate it out. Now these boxes, do they have a box shadow? They don't have a box shadow. They don't have a box shadow, but I feel like adding them in because I can't really see them properly. So what you can do is, inside this div, we can add a box shadow here, or the class is called shadow. Shadow, there we go. Just a very slight box shadow. I mean, you don't have to do it. And looking at it now, I mean, should I do it? I think let me just remove it. Yeah, let me just remove it. I mean, I don't see the need of doing it. Okay, so what is remaining now is our button. So give this a class name of bg slate 700, padding y of 4, padding x of 6, rounded dash full, so that it does that. And then let's say text white. Why doesn't this go all the way to the end? What is this div? Padding all round of 8. So I need to change this into a block element. Okay, that doesn't go to the end with full. I sometimes hit buttons. Okay, we have that. Margin top of 6 pushed away from this part. There we go. So that is our continue button. And then when we hover over it, we want the BG to be indigo dash 600. There we go. And then let's add a transition. So transition all the elements with a duration of 200 milliseconds. There we go. Looks nice, 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 nice. And would you look at that? That is the mobile design. And then now what we need to do is just scale it up. So right at around, I guess right around here, then we want this div to come here, and then this summary to go to the right. So what we're going to do therefore is we're going to go to the parent section. So this section right here, and we're going to give this a class name. And this class name is going to be dependent on whether we are on medium screens or small screens, or larger really. And so therefore we're going to say that for medium screens, then I want this section to display as a grid. And you know what, let me not use grid because grid is sometimes harder for me. So let me use flexbox because it is much easier. Now what you're going to see happen is this, right? So at about medium screens, but less than medium screens, we're going to go back to the original design. But at medium screens, which are tablets right here, we go to this design. So what we need to do is, just so that this is uniform, then I'm going to go inside this div. Now the reason I'm going inside the div is because this div is one element, this entire element, and then the second div here is the summary element. And what we need to do is we need each one of them to take up 50% of the device width. So therefore what we're going to say here is that for medium screens, then let the flex be 1, and then we can just copy this part and then go to this bottom div here and say that for medium screens, let the flex be 1, and then it's going to do that. So now it takes up 50% of the device width. And then once we do that, then we are going to go ahead and say this, go back to the section and say that for medium screens, then items dash center, which is not really going to do anything much right there. And then let me say that for medium screens, let's say justify center. and then obviously nothing changes on the screen once again. And then let's say that for medium screens, then we're going to say H of screen, which is going to bring everything to the center. There we go. Would you look at that? And so now we have this. Now this doesn't look right. Did you see how before I added in these classes? So let me just cut them out. Before I added in these classes, then it looked like this, like it wasn't right? So what we can do therefore is I can add in these classes first of all, so that this goes back to the center. And then what we can do is, let me see, I don't know whether this is going to work, but let me try adding an H of full here for medium screens so that this takes up, and it does that. I did not want to do that. So let's just work with what we have. Let's just work with what we have. And then what we need to do is we need to limit this so that it doesn't go all the way to the end like this, right? So what we're going to do is here for medium screens, I'm going to add a max width of, let's say 7. No, 7XL is too big. How does it look? It's small. So let's say max width of 3XL. What happens? There we go. So it is limited. It no longer goes all the way to the end. And then we want it to come to the center. So we're going to go ahead and say that for MD screens, then MX auto, which means add an equal margin on the x-axis, which is going to perfectly center it. And then now what we need to do is, let's see. So this is a bit bigger. So we need to just restructure this a bit. Not really restructure, but like restyle it. So we have, this is a bit bigger. And then, you know, I've just realized that a mistake that I made. Is that the section is inside a white div. I mean, sorry, this part is inside a white div or section. That's when these ones come on top. I've just realized that, which I have not done. Can I do that? Let me say bg white, and add a box shadow. Yeah, it goes up to the top. Oh my goodness. That means that we're going to have to restructure all this. That is really annoying. Okay, let's just do it. So let's remove this section. Not really remove, but cut it out and then add a div instead. And then we're going to copy this class. Now, when you save this, nothing is going to change on the screen. But what we need to do is we need this div. So we need these flex items. So all the classes up to here, cut them out and then place them on the div. Oops, class name. Class name is equal to this. Save it. And we are going to have this. Why do we have that? Oh, it's because now the section here acts as one child of the div. So what we need to do is we need the MD. We need to say that for MD screens, then change this to be a flexbox. Okay, there we go. And it actually now centers it properly. Oh, that's looking nice. That is looking nice. I didn't want to do it at first, but you know, it works out. Now what we need to do is we need to add rounded borders to this. So let's go inside. Actually, can do it inside the div. No, inside the section. Inside the section, let's say rounded dash 3XL. So that this part is rounded and this part is rounded, and this one should also remain rounded at this one, but we need this part to be rounded. Now the reason why this is not rounded is because if I remove the BG indigo here, watch what happens. You can see that now it is rounded here. So the reason why it is not rounded is because the background color overflows here. So what we can do is we can go inside here and say that for MD screens, then we can say overflow dash hidden, which means hide the overflow here. And it doesn't work. Overflow hidden. Did I place it on the wrong part or what? Let me see. Let's say overflow hidden here. So overflow hidden. What happens? Okay, nothing happens. So the class, what I wanted to show you doesn't work for some reason. So the reason why it doesn't go rounded here, the way you fix that another way is by going inside which div? This div. Remember how we added rounded bottom here? We added rounded bottom only. So what you can do is that we can say for empty screens, then we want the rounded dash bottom to be none. And then for empty screens, we want the rounded dash left to be 3XL, which means remove this rounded bottom. Wait a minute, it has a rounded border here and here as well. Oh, it is rounded all over. Okay, so we just need this to be rounded dash 3XL. And we need to remove this class because we also need it to be rounded on the bottom. What did I do? What did I do? Okay, there we go. Come on. What? Okay, remove this class. Come on. What is happening today? It's Saturday, I mean. Okay, there we go. So it is now rounded properly. And then I need this to move to the middle. How do I do that? How do I do that? First of all, let's increase the width of this and the size of this. So let's go where we have our fixed width and height. Let me place this full screen. Let me say that for empty screens, I want the width to be 40. For empty screens, I want the height to be 40. Increase it massively. And then let's increase the size of this paragraph right here. Let's say for empty screens, text dash 6XL. How big is that? Very looking nice. And then let's change this to text white. Wait, isn't this text white? Oh, this is not text white, so text dash white. And then font dash bold. And then can I make it bigger? Yeah, it needs to be bigger. So let's say text dash large. For small screens, first of all, let me say text dash large. And then for empty screens, let's say text dash 2XL, just to make it bigger. There we go. And then let me push this entire div. Let me push all of it downwards. So let's go inside the, actually not inside this paragraph. Wait, isn't inside the paragraph or what? Here, inside the padding. Let me say that for empty screens, I want the padding top to be 10, which is just going to push it downwards just a bit. I mean, not really significantly, but just enough. And would you look at that? That is looking nice. Now, just to make sure, let me see how it looks on smaller screens, just to make sure that I didn't mess anything up. So this is currently on medium screens right around here. And then on small screens, it looks nice as well. Fantastic. Okay, so now what we need to do is, this is still bothering me because it is not perfectly centered and it is really annoying. It is really annoying. Okay, now this is annoying me quite a bit, so let's fix it. Okay, I want this to move to the center, so it is inside this div. So let's transform this div to be a flex box. So md flex, let's see. Okay, and then md flex column, which means align items in column form. Nothing changes, as you can see. And then for empty screens, let's say item center. And then for empty screens, let's say justify center. Bring it to the center. Yes, it works. It works. Okay, so would you look at that? That is the entire design, actually. That is the entire design. Probably should shrink it a bit because this is a bit squeezed, as you can see. Should probably shrink it a bit, and it is darker. Oh, wait a minute, this is a linear gradient. Wait, this is a linear gradient. I didn't notice that before. But anyway, you can see that this works. So what you need to do is, let me make this 600 just to be darker. And then therefore, let's make this div is this one right here. Let me make it 700 so that it's visible. There we go. Now what you need to do is, let me also reduce the size of this entire div, which was 3XL. Let me make it 2XL. Make it smaller. And then once you have that, then all we need to do is now commit this to GitHub and then deploy it to Netlify and then submit our solution. And of course, I've just noticed, let's change the thingy for this. What's it called? The title. My brain lagged for a moment. So for the title, what we're going to do is this. I want to go ahead and inside our index.css, so not inside the index.css, I want to go inside the style guide, and I want to copy the slate blue, this one. Okay, we can be a bit nitpicky with this project because we are given the gradients here. We are given the gradients here for this part, so we can be a bit nitpicky with this. And let's go ahead and do that. Inside our index.css, let's do this. Let me create a custom class called bgdiv and give it a background of linear gradient, and then we're giving it a linear gradient of 180 degrees because 180 is the horizontal line. Wait, the vertical, it's the vertical line. So 180 degrees, we are starting from this color, slate blue here, and we're going to this color, which is light royal blue. Copy, paste it in, and then save it. And then inside of app.js, we can go inside this div. Now, instead of having bg int equals 600, we're going to say bg div. We should change its color now. There we go. So you can see that now it is lighter here and then darker here. And then for the circle, let me say .bg circle, and then copy this part and paste it here. And then we're going to copy this violet blue, copy, copy.cut, paste it to as the first color. And then this second color here, copy and paste it as the second color, and save it. And oh, I haven't added in this class. It happens, guys, it happens. So inside here we should say bg circle. So bg dash circle. There we go. Okay, yeah, looking at it now, it kind of looks closer to the design. It does. Okay, we should probably reduce this just a bit, the opacity of this thingy, which is the background color here. Let's reduce it to 10. And I'm becoming very nitpicky with this. I did not want to do that. So inside our index.css, let me copy this class, not the class but the color, and then inside our public folder, we're going to go inside our index.css, index.html, sorry, and then we're going to paste in this color here, and then we're going to change this document title to Frontend Mentor, and we're going to say results summary component, and save it. Now this color is just to change the color of the address bar when you're on mobile screens. And you can see that now our title changes, but the icon doesn't update because we need the icon here. So inside this assets, we have the, where is it, images, the favicon. So we can drag and drop the favicon inside the public folder, and then we can access it. Where is the favicon? Here, and it is called favicon-32 times 32.png. When I save it, it should update right there. There we go. So now let's go ahead and inside Netlify, let's log into Netlify. Okay, and then inside GitHub, let's create a new repository, and we are going to create a new repository, call it results component, with results summary component, oh my god, and then create repository. And then we're going to copy this link, and then now we can close all of this, and then using Ctrl-J to open up our terminal. Let's shut down our terminal, and then let's begin to add in our files. So I'm going to say git add design and git commit. I'm going to call this design files, and then git add, let me see how is it structured. Let me say git add tailwind.config.js, start from the bottom going up, and git commit, I'm going to say tailwind config file, and then git add style guide.md, git commit style guide, and then git add readme, both of them, so readme star to add all files called readme, and then git commit -m and say readme files, and then git add package. So both of them, so package star git commit, and I'm going to say install tailwind css because that's what we did, and then git add index.html and git commit. We're going to say add index.html template, and then git add dot git ignore, and then git commit. We're going to say update git ignore, and then let's say git add public, or let's just say git add all because that is the only thing that is remaining, and git commit, let's say project complete. There we go. And then let's say git remote add origin, and then paste in our link that we copied, and then git push -u origin main, which is going to push it to our remote repository. And then let's just wait a moment. It's probably faster for you because my computer is just slow. There we go. And then now when I reload this, then we're going to be able to see our repository right there. And we've just committed it 1 minute ago, now, and so on and so forth. So now what we need to do is we need to deploy this repository to Netlify. So the repository is called results summary component, and it is also going to be linked in the description in case you want it. So here, let's say add a new site. We're going to say import an existing project, and we're going to say from GitHub. And then the repository is called results summary component. Come on, loading. There we go. And then we're just going to say loading, and say deploy site. Deploying. There we go. And then as it is deploying, let's change the site name here. So change site name. Let's call it TsbSankara. Let's say results summary component. It's not going to be enough. Let's say Nent. It's enough. How many are remaining? Oh, 1 letter is remaining. So save it. And then let's wait a moment as this deploys. Okay, there we go. So finished. And then we can now take a look by just clicking this link, and we should have it right here. Would you look at that, looking nice. So let's go ahead and copy this link, and then let's submit our solution to Netlify. So where is it? Visit Challenge Hub. Let's say submit solution. The live set URL is this one. The repository URL is this one. Copy and paste. And then let's say mobile first results summary component. And then let's just say submit solution. And loading. And there we go. So just like that, we have finished our solution. And let me see whether you can take a look at the where's the thingy that slides. Is it this one? Okay, there we go. So this is our solution, and then this is the design. Okay, so we could have made everything just a bit bigger, but as you can see, it is quite a bit really close to the design. So I'm proud of it, and it does look nice. And so if you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like to help me with the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel as well. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.